On November 25, Trump announced he would impose a 25% tariff on all goods coming into the America from Canada and Mexico. At the same time, he plans to impose an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese imports. Both actions indicate that Trump is fulfilling his campaign promises by imposing tariffs. What is Trump aiming to achieve? On the positive side, tariffs seem to force manufacturing to return to the America, increase domestic employment, and reverse the long-standing trade imbalance where imports far exceed exports. On the negative side, Trump's tariffs will undoubtedly, for a long time, further raise living costs for ordinary Americans, especially those at the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder. These people already have low income and rely heavily on affordable imported goods. In the long run, inflation in the America will worsen further. Of course, these are just surface-level observations. In reality, Trump is pursuing two main objectives. One is to gradually end America at globalization. The other is to represent the interests of domestic and industrial capital by targeting international and financial capital, especially Wall Street. Let's talk about the first goal. After more than a decade of America-China competition, the America has realized that under the current globalization rule, it cannot truly compete with China. If globalization continues along its current trajectory, China will inevitably become the world's largest economy, and that day is not far off. To reverse this trend, the Democratic Party has stuck to its old playbook, suppressing China on one hand and forming alliances with America allies on the other. The Democrats proposed adjusting global rules to create a form of globalization with little or no Chinese involvement. But the past 4 years have shown that this approach simply doesn't work. So Trump came to power and immediately aimed to flip the table. He began by gradually excluding Chinese goods from the American market, then encouraging right-wing forces in allied countries to follow suit. Now, let's discuss the second objective. The America election process and results clearly reveal that American capital is divided in conflict. Domestic and industrial capital are at odds with international and financial capital, namely Wall Street. The split between them is significant, though both are capital groups. Not all capital groups are the same. Trump is sharp-eyed and has impeccable timing. He has masterfully exploited domestic tensions by positioning himself as the spokesperson for domestic and industrial capital. He claims to represent the interests of industrial workers. This is how he achieved a decisive victory in the America election. Based on these facts, I believe the Chinese people should have a clear understanding. Do not expect that 1 or 2 rounds of negotiations between China and the America will change Trump's determination to wield the tariff stick against China. Once Trump officially takes office, a new round of trade disputes between China and the America will be almost inevitable. Moreover, we must recognize this point. The global trend of globalization is irreversible. Trump's policies are bound to fail in the end. In the decades following the end of the Cold War, globalization succeeded not only because the rules established and led by the America worked well, but also because it met the basic needs of people around the world. Everyone shares a strong desire to improve their country's level of industrialization, economic development, and the quality of life for their people, using trade to replace war. This remains true today. As long as development is possible, nobody truly wants conflict or violence. Therefore, any actions aimed at reversing globalization are going against the tide of history. As the world's largest economy, Trump's use of tariffs will undoubtedly have a negative impact on globalization. However, the extent of this negative impact is ultimately limited. Let's look at the numbers. The global population now exceeds 8 billion. America has only 340 million people. If a fraction of Americans want to stop globalization, will the other 7 billion people in the world agree? Globalization. It's easier said than done. If it were that simple, the Biden administration would have done it in the past 4 years. If Trump truly wanted to curb globalization with tariffs, he wouldn't be nitpicking over small measures. Why not go all out and declare that the America will stop importing any goods? Wouldn't that be simpler? Therefore, we Chinese people need not worry that Trump will truly halt the globalization process. What we must do is build broad and deep economic ties with other nations, especially populous and vast markets in the global south. We must establish widespread, deep trade relations and restructure global supply chains. On a global scale, we must prioritize creating an international payment settlement system that doesn't rely on the American dollar. This will safeguard us against the America, should it withdraw from globalization and upend the global economic order by arbitrarily imposing financial sanctions on other countries. Trump's frequent use of tariffs is actually a manifestation of America's lack of confidence in itself. This doesn't reflect America's strength, it reflects its struggle. As one of the world's leading economies, China has the most comprehensive industrial system in the world, with top-tier technology in many key areas. Trump wants a tariff war with us? Then bring it on. If he's not afraid, why should we be? In the short term, we may face some negative impacts, but in the long run, the future is undoubtedly ours. I have no doubt about it.